prosperous Hardy country in Dorchester. Hardy was born just 3 miles away from here, and the fictional setting of Casterbridge was inspired by the town. Just a few miles away from our valuation day is Bovington Tank Museum. It's a state-of-the-art building which houses the most wide-ranging collection of tanks and armoured vehicles anywhere in the world. The museum is set in the grounds of Bovington Camp, a tank crew training facility that was established in 1916 by the British War Office, and it's still very much in use today. The tank as we know it today was born out of the need to break out of the stalemate of trench warfare. Winston Churchill, who then was the first Lord of the Admiralty, backed the development of some kind of armoured vehicle that could be developed, that could go off-road, over trenches and break through barbed wire. The very first prototype tank was called Little Willie, and here to tell me all about it and take me on a guided tour of the evolution of tank design in the 20th century is Warden Ron Anderson.
This is where it all started, Paul. This is Little Willie, the very, very first tank in the world.
It is literally held together by big nuts and bolts,
Oh, yeah.
huge nuts and bolts.
Cool.
It does look like an agricultural vehicle, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, very much so. Having said that, unfortunately, it was a bit of a failure.
Why?
Well, centre of gravity too far forward, so when the vehicle was going up to a trench, it would just drop in.
Literally nosedive first.
Exactly.
Well, it's wonderful that it's here.
Oh, yes. It's the only one in the world.
It's a shame it never got used.
No, and they had to get cracking and get the next tank up. That would be far better than this one.
Yeah, yeah. Using Little Willie as a starting point, British tank design progressed rapidly throughout World War I. Next came the mother tank, followed quickly by the Mark I, through to the Mark IV, which had thicker armour and a number of other improvements on its predecessors. So we've gone from Little Willie to this tank, the Mark IV, in the space of a couple of years?
That's right.
Do you know what? I am surprised at the space in here, actually. How many crew?
8.
8.
You'd have the commander, the driver, 2 gunners, 2 loaders, and 2 gearsmen at the back.
So there's not a lot of space in the end, really?
Plus extra supplies, food, water, munitions, machine gun bullets. Oh, yes, you would be pretty limited even then.
It must have been noisy. To the crew
Tremendously
being
noisy.
in here.
You had a lot of things you'd have to put up with, but the most horrible of all
Exhaust
would be
fumes.
heat. You can consider 150 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
which is tremendous.
I'd hate to think of the smell.
The
almost
yes.
pitch darkness as well.
If you want to do your toilet, then you'd always keep 1 or 2 shells back, empty shells back.
And that's what you'd
And that's
have
what
a
they
pee
did.
in, is it?
That's
In an
right,
empty
and that's what you
shell
did.
case.
And you'd throw them out through the side. Yep.
I guess you had to do something, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
The Germans didn't have tanks at this stage, so it was just machine gun fire. And that wouldn't penetrate this, would it?
You could quite well get a bullet. If you consider that you're having about 5,400 rounds hitting the front of this vehicle, you must, or bound to get some bullet, hit the seams and come hurtling in here and take somebody out.
Yeah.
And if at all they did get a strike in these vehicles, the roof would shoot off, the sides would burst to bits, and everybody inside, unfortunately, would be perished. But having said that, once you're up onto the enemy lines, you can flatten out their barbed wire, which was what it was all about at the end. Once you flatten that barbed wire, your troops at the back can walk over the barbed wire instead of get slaughtered on it.
Yeah, they can make good ground then.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, shall we take a trip outside and
Yes, certainly.
get some air? At the end of the First World War, technology continued to progress quickly. Instead of a mechanised battering tool, the tank became an armoured cavalry and a weapon in its own right. The names of Panther, Tiger and Sherman found their place in history, but it was a small Russian tank that would take everyone by surprise. So what are we looking at here?
You're looking at the T-34, Paul.
This is a Russian tank.
This is the Russian tank.
The Russian tank.
Oh, yes.
What was so special about these tanks? Was it their speed or their cannon?
Deflective armour for a start. If you notice the armour, it's at a slope.
It's almost 45 degrees around the whole of the body.
Oh, yes. But not only that, you could turn them out very, very quick. And if you look at it, it's crude.
It
it's
is, isn't
rough.
it? You can see all the welding, but it's not
That's
been
right.
sort of grinded off and
No.
then polished and painted, has it?
This vehicle here is welded. It's all meant for productivity. Get these vehicles out, get them to the front, push back the Germans that are now on the borderlines of Stalingrad and Moscow. And eventually, these vehicles did push the Germans way back out of your area, back into Berlin.
So am I looking at the Russian tank, really, that won the Second World War?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Because when you've got 10 of these against one Panther or one Tiger,
They just literally outnumbered them that much.
literally outnumbered them.
Built out of scrap metal, the T-34 has been described as the fastest, the best and the cheapest tanks of their day. Although as warfare began to rely more on sophisticated technology, the development of tanks continued dramatically over the years.
And this is a British tank, which brings us bang up to date.
This is Britain's current main battle tank, the Challenger 2.
The Challenger 2, OK. How many crew?
4.
4. And would you do sort of a 24-hour shift or a 48-hour
Oh yes,
shift?
you could do up to 46 hours.
God.
You would have to do just about everything. Eat, sleep, and...
How'd you go to the loo?
Oh, it's got its own toilet arrangements.
Oh, it does have to.
Oh, yes. They don't have to do it in an empty shell casing and throw it out. It's far more up to date.
Yeah. Do you know how much this weighs?
Vehicle weighs about 53 tons.
Well, that's about 50 small cars, isn't it?
I think you could double that, roughly about 80 Mini Coopers. Yes.
That's some weight, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
The Challenger 2 is likely to be the last British heavy main battle tank, and it's currently expected to serve until 2020, then probably being replaced by a lighter, air-portable vehicle. Until then, though, this is still the state-of-the-art tank.
When you consider, let's say, the First World War tank, which would just have a gun sight.
Yeah, or stick your head
Okay.
above the turret with a pair of binoculars.
That's right. We're now talking of high tech. We're talking of a 99% strike hit.
Wow. First time.
Kilometers. First time.
First hit,
At
gosh.
over 2 kilometers.
That's some distance, isn't
Oh,
it?
yes.
Tanks have played a remarkable role in 20th century warfare, and with technologies changing at an alarming rate, it will be interesting to see where the evolution of the tank will go.